Awesome.
Aloha and welcome to the iTeach808 Empowering Hawaii's Teachers in Technology Conference sponsored by the Augustine Educational Foundation and Sacred Hearts Academy in Honolulu. My name is Mana and I'll be facilitating this session. We are so honored to have Gabriel Y of Iolani School and Ed Lalali of Vantaleagues join us today to share their experience through a 45-minute presentation named Adventures in Esports. Please be aware that we'll be recording this session. If you don't like being recorded, you may consider turning off your camera during the session or reviewing the recording afterwards. The recording will be made available on YouTube and shared on iTeach808's website a week after this event. Without further ado, I'll turn it over to Gabriel Y of Iolani School and Ed Lally of Vantaleagues.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Like she introduces us, my name is Gabriel from Iolani's Esports program. This session, I'm going to be talking about my experiences setting up our Esports program and kind of giving a template of what it would take to start your program and offer our support to help you if that's something you want to add to your school. So whether you're here in the room, watching the recording at any time, you can reach out to me at esports@iolani.org, or you can reach out to Ed at edlalier@vantaleagues.com. All right, with nothing further ado, let's dive right in. I'm going to screen share this slideshow. Okay, so Adventures in Esports, how to get started and get your school involved. Whether you're middle school, high school, collegiate school, right now you've probably heard about esports. I did this presentation last year as well, trying to help other schools, help teachers figure out what this whole esports thing is and how to get your program set up. So let's talk a little bit about my program for now. We started, like most programs have been started by the students, right? It's not very rarely you're gonna have a superintendent come to you and be like, hey, all right, I want you to start an esports program. It's more that the students are gonna be finding that other schools are starting up programs. This is a passion of theirs. So this entire, like all the HHSAA school run stuff, a lot of it's coming from the student side. So our program started grassroots in 2019 with about 13 students. And if you want to start up your program, working with those initial students to develop the culture for your program is going to be really big. So the students set up a leadership and mission statement of academic excellence, physical fitness, and kind of wholesome inclusivity, right? Essentially, they wanted a safe and regulated playground for gaming. That's part of their academic experience. So for us, part of the Iolani experience. So then we launched with various titles, and we had it. So we're doing League of Legends with the HHSAA. So that's a Hawaii league. Valorant with HSEL, which is a high school esports league national tournament. We had Overwatch for that same HSEL, Smash Bros, Rocket League, and a bunch more with HHSAA. So it is a Hawaii state seen as a sport, and they let you field teams and stuff for it. Okay, so to kind of show how big this esports thing can go, like I started it with my small cohort of students, and now we've grown to 307 as of last year. We're probably closer to about 320, 345 now, with this current season starting at the end of this next week. So we're doing tryouts and everything right now. I have 7 volunteer coaches and 2 lab technicians. HHSAA, I think, had 25 teams with 103 players on our side. So we fielded 25 teams and 103 players. For our Vantaleagues offering, which is Ed's thing, that's our middle school offering, we fielded 9 teams with about 51 players. So of the club members, the way we set it up is club is a social aspect where they have a safe place to game. Above that, if they want to get competitive, they enter one of the teams, try out for a team, and the teams go on to compete in state and national leagues. Okay, so team structure and model for our program. Okay, one thing I've been seeing really successfully across the state is setting up that high standard. Right, there's going to be a lot of opinions about gaming. Right, athletic departments, football coaches, all over the place. Parents, right? They're like, oh, why are you bringing gaming into the classroom? So the easiest way to combat that is to have the students really showcase, like, this is how passionate we are about gaming, right? So the students set up these requirements. They're set up, it's open to anyone with a 3.0 GPA or higher. So that's A's and B's only. The club is going to be run by student leadership with a team and an adult advisor, just like many other club activities. So that pulls from the club side of things. Okay. That club, that social club where people can come out, hang out in a safe place after school, do their gaming, is a talent pool from which you pull the ones who want to shine, the ones who you want to take up leadership, who want to carry the torch. They'll pull from that and you'll form your teams. And you can run that to either tryouts run by the students, because again, I don't know most of these video games. My job is basically to be the cool adult in the room who they can go to if any conflict happens. So mostly just conflict resolution and scheduling for me. Okay, so you can do tryouts or just self-organize, right? The way I personally run it. So a lot of schools, I know Punahou runs tryouts. I know Kamehameha does tryouts. Roosevelt, Wanalua High School do like tryout events to like make sure like you got to be really good to do it. I have it a little bit differently. The kids form parties on their own, some good, some bad. As if they want to play together, they just come to me and say, hey, we want to form a team, and I'll field another team. Okay, so tryouts and stuff like that. Once you're on an official team though, the standards get really high, right? You have to have attended practices. They're mandatory, just like any other sport. So you just run it like any other sport. And you can set up a system for the training teams who wish to play together, but not in paid tournaments. So like say your school wants just a budget for a single team, right? It's like, okay, have one team that enters the paid state HHSAA tournament. And then all the other ones who just want to get play, there's lots of free tournaments out there that you can enter nationally, like that. Okay, so general roles for the position, like if you wanted like a easy win success story, I had to do it all by myself first. Like it was just me, and it's still just me as head coach, but it's nice having like the support team for it. So I have the role of head coach, which just manages facilities, wrangles principals and administrators, work and scheduling, right? So like kind of the paperwork, the parent permission forms, all that paperwork side. And then for each team, we'll have a team or title subject area coach. So you're going to reach out to your parents, your alumni, your community around, get the community involvement, just like you would do for like, someone teaching dribbling, someone teaching any of the other sports. Have like someone from your community kind of volunteer twice a week to be their person who reviews game footage or works with the team. Because I have 300 kids in my program, the coach that makes the close personal relationships with the students, like the, hey coach, how's it going? Like, hey, having that like camaraderie, that's going to be the team and title coach, because they're going to work just with their team of 5 kids. They're going to build that bond and that friendship. Then I have technical skills coaches. This is the CTE, career and technical education, a route to esports and gaming. We'll have someone come in talking about specific skills. When we have to build a computer, we bring a parent who works in IT or tech stuff. Streaming, when we want to do the broadcasting the games, casting, computer repair, networking, all that stuff. So we'll bring people in to train up the kids. So again, duties and responsibilities for each of those. So if you are signing on to be an esports coach and you want to start a program, to be as transparent as possible, this is kind of like all the stuff I got to do when we're doing that. So liaison between DOE, HOE, HHSAA programs, managing structured participation in competitive leagues. So that's like finding the leagues, handling the payment stuff for them, talking to them, negotiating prices, stuff like that. Running the club itself, right? So okay, doing the daily bulletin announcements, doing all the information about like when the club meets, being the final check off on competitive matches and schedules, coming up with like broadcast, like if you want to do any extra career stuff, just setting that up, like finding the other person for that. So it's a lot of kind of running around and building systems as the head coach, right? And again, at the very end, if anything happens in your lab, right? If a kid gets angry, throws a controller, or gets beaten really bad and has a really bummed day because they worked hard for 6 months and then lost their first match of the season, right? You're going to be the one that's really going to step in at that time and be there for the kids, just like any other sports program. But I just want to make sure that's communicated out. Okay. All right. How are we doing on time? Good. Okay. So again, just basically talking about running the programs as well. Okay, so we can go into less detail about that. Okay, startup model for success. So we covered kind of like what you're doing as a coach, all the different tournaments and stuff you can enter, the kind of games you can do. But really, the heart of setting up your esports program that we found was most successful is the students want it. So the students will take up leadership roles to help you coordinate it. So it's okay to lean on your students a little bit, especially in the beginning, right? Identifying community volunteers, that's gonna be a big part, right? Doing the Instagram post, doing like a post on Reddit, be like, hey, guess what? Like your high school is starting an esports program. Do you want to be a coach? And that worked really well for us. Starting with this, like starting with zero budget, like we did, compete in games that do not require high-end hardware, right? A lot of people are scared of starting esports program because they're worried they're gonna have to buy like fancy gaming computers. League of Legends, Smash Bros, right? For a lot of tournaments, they'll just give you a free Switch to compete in their tournament. Some of them, the kids can just use one of their personal Switches on the side, or League of Legends plays on 10-year-old computers. So you can just use, like when we started off, we were using iMacs that were like old teacher systems, and it worked fine, right? The other one was building the culture around it, right? I already talked at length about like setting the standard for it, like making sure everybody has their leadership roles. Community gaming events is a really good way of building hype. So what we did to start is we had the Iolani Fair, so our annual fair thing. We did a Smash Bros tournament. So every year for free, people signed on. We just had one of the girls write like a giant like bracket board of everyone, and they played each other throughout the course of an afternoon, and that got so many people involved with our program. So community gaming events like that. We also started the Iolani Invitational. So this last week, we ran a invite tournament to all the high schools in Hawaii. We had, I think, 14 participating high schools. So each high school sent a representative and their coach came. So these are all the Head Start leaders from their programs. And what we wanted to do is we wanted them to form a community and start playing with each other. So we ran an event like that. We did the Iolani Invitational Esports Tournament. All the students came together and we were able to be shuffled onto teams and play with each other. The cool thing about that is that they all got to know each other, and now these really cool relationships are forming between schools to kind of counteract, like, we don't want the rivalries that we're seeing in some of the other sports personally. So having them all play together and be friends has been a great first step towards building that inclusive community between the schools. For your online community, we're using Discord as a way of building up a community tool so that the students have a way to engage and coordinate and practice and have their voice communications if they're playing from home during COVID, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, a parent information night, because those parents are going to have lots of questions for you. Feel free to show them this recording. I'll be happy to stop by. I'm working really hard to get esports into all the different high schools in Hawaii. So ping me at esports@eolani.org. I'll come by, help you out with a parent night, talk story, or even if you got to talk to your admin. Okay, the weird thing that Iolani does for this is our out of left field thing. We offer PE credit for being in our esports program. And that may seem kind of weird, but really that was what the kids originally wanted a fitness aspect, and they did not want PE credit. They didn't want the added, kind of PR nightmare that's coming with saying, I got PE credit for playing video games, right? But what we did is we had that as part of our workout routine anyway. A lot of our students are involved in other sports as well, and those who aren't never really got into sports because a lot of their body types or their sizings don't really contribute them to being competitive in a lot of other sports, right? Whether it's a medical condition or whether it's, just not something they've been really bought into or trained up in. And it's kind of hard to dive into a sport in 9th grade, right? When you've never done sports before in your life. So the PE credit or the physical training aspect, we're just one to introduce these students to physical fitness. And the philosophy behind it is because esports gets rid of like the physical competition of things. And some people are like, oh, that's not really good. But at the same time, I'm 6'4". Ed is taller than I am, right? If both me and Ed are playing on a basketball team and we're playing against my friend, like it was like 410, right? 411, and we all put in 100 hours of work. The unfair genetic advantage means me and Ed are going to be like doing layups back and forth the entire game. So, but with esports, it's how well your brain works against someone else's, right? So that takes away the physical leverage of this muscle here, and it says my brain versus your brain. And the philosophy the students presented to me with this, which I am running with, is your brain's only going to work as well as your overall body is, right? You have to take care of your body if you want your brain to work good. If you're out of shape and lazy, you're going to be 0.2 milliseconds slower than the person you're playing against, right? And in an esports game of 5 hours, our championship match was 5 hours long of matches. If you're out of shape and your body's not in peak condition, your brain's gonna struggle, right? It's not gonna work out. Your decision making is not gonna be great. So they wanted a physical fitness training thing. This year, we're actually adding weight room to it. So imagine like a bunch of gaming nerds in your head, like doing squat, like, full weight rack, everything. So that's our plan for ours. You don't have to do that for yours, right? Obviously, you can do calisthenics, you can do fun things, stretching, yoga, start small, and then introduce them to it. A lot of students, they just need to be introduced to physical fitness because they haven't had someone hold their hand into it. Okay. Yep. So we did 1 year vested sign-offs, providing an admin with a list of the people who got the PE credit. And you can see we did a lot of calisthenics, track, cross-country stuff. And it was a cool way. Some of them made friends with the football players and soccer players because we brought those people on to run practices for us as well. So making the friend between the gamer nerd and the football captain is a pretty cool story as well. And there wasn't any bullying involved. Like the footballers are like, that's kind of cool that these guys are willing to listen to me. And like, now I'm the coach, right? And they get to have the mini coaching experience. Okay, now let's dive into all the resource stuff. Like, I know this whole session is basically a giant info dump, mostly because I know it's being recorded and you can come back and review this at your leisure. Okay, so for our equipment, we try to refresh every 5 years or so. You do want internet access. A lot of people are like, oh, if our internet's not good, we don't need it. Gaming doesn't use a whole lot of internet. Like the bits, the amount of data running, I could run my entire team off my cell phone's hotspot. That's the speed that you need. That's the bandwidth that you need. Latency is the main issue. So just work with your IT person just to make sure that there's not content filters on it. Have a set time opening for the thing in the firewall, whatever it is. DOE schools have gotten this to work real easy. So it's just a matter of lighting the fire to get that to work. Internet access, keyboards, mice, headsets. A lot of the kids will bring their own goodies and stuff like that, et cetera, et cetera. Game licenses, so game software, a lot of the games are free. We have League of Legends is free, Rocket League is free. Some of the games that have pricing attached to it, there's a lot of times the leagues will provide you what's called cafe licenses. So that means you don't have to pay for it as a program, but when the students come in, they just got to log in and use their own personal accounts for it. For graphics and images, Canva, I could do a whole other hour presentation on how awesome Canva is. That's how you do all your social media posting, graphics, t-shirt, logo design, all that stuff. Free version of Photoshop, essentially, Inkscape, any of these other tools. Discord for the communication side. If you're a middle school, Ed's going to talk more about that later on for COPA compliant online community services that they have. And of course, Twitch is free for broadcasting your games to parents and family. For competition leagues, one of the prices you do have to worry about is competition league fees. PlayVS has like a price you pay every 16 students. HSEL has like a price you pay per student. Neither of those offer any support besides just an email telling you like, this is the person that you're playing against today. Here's the scoreboard roster. So it's a website that just brackets out and coordinates everything. NASEF was a ongoing college-based one. They have since passed the torch over to HSEL. They had some coaching available in the form of college volunteers that you could pay for, and they have some paid camps as well. Vanta Leagues is an all-in-one product for the middle school. It's essentially the little leagues and high school, walled garden, safe place, but they also provide coaching and supervision and curriculum for how to learn the games as well. So that's a really easy turnkey operation. Uniforms, like I just had the students design stuff using one of those online print-on-demand services that you can use for stuff like that. You can like normally we'd reuse it, but in light of COVID, like the students can just keep their uniforms, and I'll wait for a sale or coupon code to get more for the next season. Coaching stipends is a cost to consider. We're doing a volunteer based right now, but you kind of want a subject area coach per game. So if you enter League of Legends and Smash Bros, I would try to see if you can get a coaching stipend equivalent to whatever they pay any other athletic program at your school, or like club fee or whatever. It's very small, but it's at least something that covers their like Uber ride to come visit you, or their bus or their BG pass or whatever, just so that they're not losing money spending time with your students. Okay, and then following up after that, we set up a Discord server for the teachers. This is a teacher-run Discord server that you can reach up to if you have questions, comments. You can talk to, like all the other high schools that are currently running are on there, and some middle schools. Okay, that was my long spiel. We still got a decent amount of time. I'm going to pass it off to Ed Lallier to talk about Vanta Leagues and their youth esports development program. So for middle school side, you'll want to listen up. All right, Ed, take it away.
All right, thank you, Gabe, and welcome everyone. Aloha. My name is Ed Lallier, co-founder and chief revenue officer at Vanta Leagues and based here in Hawaii. Next slide. So we started Vanta Leagues in response to, unfortunately, my son being cyberbullied, gaming online. There's just no reason why adults should be attacking kids online. And so there needs to be an adult in the room. There needs to be structure in place to protect our kids playing games. And they are playing at a very young age. So we created an organization to provide that safe place for kids to game, as well as meaningful instruction and education where they can learn not just the games themselves, but meaningful soft skill development. And this is very important as they progress in the games. Many parents, players, and even school administrators don't realize that there's over 200 colleges right now that will give you a full athletic scholarship to play on their varsity video game team. And so when I came to Gabe early on and I said, hey, this is who we are, and he jumped at the chance to actually cultivate a meaningful best practice education program around esports for his middle school programs. Because in order to create a very strong and thriving and sustainable esports program at your school, you need to not just consider the high school part, but also the lower school, the middle school area as well, because those are going to be your next generation of players that come up to high school. And many programs are challenged with sustainability because when they start with their existing player base, they age out and now they don't have a plan. So this is where we can give you those resources to develop that next wave of players for your high school. So middle school is a great starting point for kids who want to get in and learn how to actually be a good citizen, digital citizen, and as well as be proficient in games that are becoming more and more an opportunity for higher education. So what we provide, much like Gabe was saying, we provide coaching from experts that have been trained and fully background checked. We provide competition that is both local here in Hawaii as well as nationally. So this is like that AAU travel team experience that are from the comfort of your home or your school, as well as we provide curriculum, holistic. Gabe really is setting the tone for and the standard on how that best practice works. Health and wellness is super key, not just for sustainability in the game, but like he was saying, mindset. When you're physically fit, your mind is better and you're happier and you're more respectful to others. So it's super important to have that health and wellness. We provide that same element through meditation, stretches, and there's some other physical activity exercises as well. We do social emotional learning. We also employ goal setting, leadership, and others as well. So with that in mind, we provide a very broad curriculum in respect to development of the youth. Next slide, please. And so with that in mind, what we provide is after school leagues, in-class electives, camps and workshops. So we do summer camp programs. We'll actually do camps in the winter season during the holidays. The kids are out, out of school, like in their gaming, let's put them in a place where there's adult supervision and some structure. We also do provide private coaching. And that COPPA compliant platform is super important if you're actually educating minors under 13 in a digital space. Discord, Zoom, they're not COPPA compliant, which means it's really not designed to safeguard the privacy of our youth. We've created a proprietary COPPA compliant platform that allows the student player as well as the adult coach to come together in a safe place. And we do a lot of additional structure to how that relationship is. So it's always safe. We do a rule of two. There's always 2 adults in the room anytime you're with a kid. So you have an adult trained expert coach as well as an adult moderator. And so what that does is it ensures that the behavior is positive and toxic free, as well as the coach providing the necessary curriculum and instruction that that person is frankly paid to do. And so our leagues are seasonal. So you have a fall, you have a spring, and it's over like 3+ months, and it's 2 practices a week, and it's a game on the weekend. And that can be subject to change depending on your program design. Next slide, please. So coaching is super important. If you really want to have a solid program, especially if you're focusing on youth, and we are going to extend into the high school later into the fall. But it's important that you have mentorship. When you just play the game, pickup leagues, it's very hard to actually get proper best practice when the kids are teaching themselves. Gabe is, and his program are very different because they have a lot of adults in the room, but not many programs do. And so it's very important to not be hands off, be involved, get committed, connect with the coaches that you bring on, but also to the players, and make sure that proper mentorship is there. You want them to make sure that they are, abiding by the best practices that you teach at your school. And so we are just really that after school extension, right? So we teach our coaches, through an academy that we have created that creates that a holistic curriculum. And then we have school administrators as our instructors, ex-pro athletes and consultants. So we've got a proprietary holistic curriculum that we teach our coaches who are like top 10% in the world in the game. So they're expert coaches, but they may not be experts in how to work with kids. And so we want this to be a very high quality experience. And the results are, a joy for both and delight from the student, but also the school and the parents. This is going to take a village to make sure that we make a healthy esports environment. So we want the families involved. Next slide. So our curriculum is very much theme-based, and this is just giving you an indication of just kind of how much investment and focus that we want in our curriculum. So we focus, like I said, on a lot of that soft skill development, SEL, the goal setting, leadership, communication, teamwork, the health and wellness part. And so we layer that in addition to the in-game mechanics. So every week we have, we're reinforcing what we taught about. We provide them with an instruction, and we do those after action reviews to recap what we just taught. And we have that dialogue, and that's been received very well. Another thing to also note is that we provide report cards. Parents love this. So during the mid-season and the end, we'll actually let you know how they're doing in the game, both in the hard skills and also like the soft skill development. I had one experience where a parent was saying, like, this is amazing. This actually reinforces what the history teacher is talking about with my son. They're saying, like, my son needs to actually be more engaging and communicative in the classroom, and the Vanta coach is saying the same thing. So the parent now has additional tools at their disposal to reinforce best practices in the home. What you're seeing is some also images of that COPPA compliant platform. That digital league experience is really, you're coming into this Google Meet like experience where all the kids are in a room with the coach. They can actually interact. The coach can provide instruction. The coach doesn't actually have to play the game with them in real time. The games are designed now that they can spectate in. So you really have an experience that's very similar to that traditional sport model. And that's why we created Vanta to be something very familiar to both the kids and the families. Next slide. So we also do one more thing that I think really is important. When you play a video game, it's really hard to actually see your player like play unless you're standing behind them. And so if you're like away, like, you know, in another room, another like location, how am I able to see that competition? And so what we do is we broadcast our competition through our live Twitch, which is like free internet TV. And this allows families, schools to actually window in on the development that's been taking place for their kids, for their team, right? This is also a great opportunity for your school to promote your games to your community. This is a great opportunity to get the community engaged and supporting the efforts that you're putting into on digital learning and development. Next slide. And just as one more additional point, when you see the game, we employ shoutcasters who are trained experts in the game, and they're actually going to educate the audience on what exactly the game, what we're talking about, what's the objective, what does the team need to do. So we're actually educating the audience to be, if you will, thoughtful on how this game is being played and more empathetic to like all the development and time spent in working at this game, because it really is a team, exercise. And so there's a lot of impact that you get from playing esports. And so gaming is gender neutral. It's a great equalizer. It's race neutral. It's disability neutral. You know, you're getting a level of inclusion that you can't get in many other sports, like Gabe was talking about. And so there's a wide range of diverse, people that are playing, and they feel connected and accepted, and that's amazing. I have an experience from one principal who was saying, like, there was this one kid who had challenges like connecting with kids in his class, and going through Vanta, now he's been able to make new friends and build stronger bonds. And that allowed the families to actually want to stay with the school, because they were thinking about moving to a different school because of the kids' challenge with just connecting in the community. So this has actually helped relationships beyond just the game. So the idea of cyberbullying prevention, safety, is super paramount in order to conduce a positive learning environment. Next slide. So the parent feedback has been tremendous. Our survey results is that 99% were squashing cyberbullying, which is really super important. 97% said they made new friends, and 95% felt like they really have developed substantially from the start of the season to like a few months later. And so the perception of gaming has changed, in so much. It's no longer Super Mario Brothers in the basement, right? These games are far more complex and communal. And when families can see that there's a meaningful program and structure in place that can emulate what you see in the traditional sports, where you're building soft skills and meaningful skills that can lead to job opportunities, later in life, understanding of technology, understanding of some of the communication and such. This is really important, for later in life. So this is also really important for those who are challenged with maybe some, special needs disabilities. So like ADHD, ASD, like we're seeing people really, value the skills and the opportunities to like connect socially with their peers. And it's a great opportunity to really, learn those kind of skills in a place that's safe versus elsewhere. So I kind of want to end it there. I do have one more slide I want to just going to point out, in that, actually I have two more slides. So this slide is how we can help. So there's Gabe holding a sign. It's very strong. And so here's the deal. We can provide after-school programs through competitive leagues. We can provide summer camps, private coaching, which is really could be team-based, not just individual. Information sessions. Again, it's going to take a village to really make sure that everyone's bought in. So that parent information night that Gabe does, it's super important for us as well to connect not just with the school, but with the families, so they understand what you're trying to do, and they're investing their energies as well to support your efforts. So there needs to be those a recurring conversation. And then moderated after-school play. We do an after-school recess, if you will, with Minecraft in a private server with an adult moderator. And so this is a great way for your students who are, casual gamers who want to like see what it's like to, maybe step into a more competitive scene. These are opportunities where you can have that sort of, taste of that sort of esport environment. So the next slide is really going to be focused on an additional resource, which is the Hawaii Esports Alliance. So Gabe and I and a few others, we co-founded the Hawaii Esports Alliance, mainly to be a support group for all of you folks who are looking to start up or programs around esports. We have a tremendous depth of expertise here that can support you. And so there's a lot of resources. So our thoughts here is if we're going to make this industry thrive, we need to have a collective where we all can come together, knowledge share, and provide resources that can really help make your program start, but also to continue on. So I would definitely encourage you to check out the website, hawaiiesportsalliance.org, if you're interested in just extending the conversation. And lastly, if you want more information about Vanta Leagues, and as to include, you can reach me on my email at ed@vantaleagues.com, or you can check our website at vantaleagues.com. All right, that's it. I think we have a few more minutes for some Q&A, I believe, Gabe.
Yep. So I just wanted to partner that out. I threw a bunch of links in the chat for those guys who want to see. But now I do want to open it up. Like we got maybe five to 10 minutes left from all of you. So I'm always really curious about what brings people into my sessions, especially the first session early in the morning. If you want to let me know, either voice, chat, whatever, why are you guys here? Like, what do you guys want to do with esports? What brought you in to learn about esports?
I think we have a small enough session that you can either raise your hand or just unmute yourself, or you can type your question into the chat bar.
Yep. So while we're waiting for questions coming in, Ed and I can just kick it for a little bit. So for this Hawaii Esports Alliance thing and that Discord server that I posted up is basically all the Hawaii coaches so far. I did forget to talk in my slides because it just happened this last week, so I didn't actually throw the slide in, was about the collegiate side, right? So Iolani is a college prep school, so everything that we do ties into either making our students, better candidates for college or building better relationship with those colleges. Interestingly enough, there was the, I think, NASEF partnered with someone to do a collegiate recruitment fair. Because right now, the same way that you guys are thinking like, oh, maybe we should start an esports program at our school, I'm looking at it like maybe, I started an esports program at our school. Ed's product is making sure you have more players feeding into your system. But the colleges are having a bit of a gold rush right now towards esports, right? Some of like UCI, some of the schools are getting really into it. Like they're going full building entire esports arena buildings and programs and everything. But I was kind of blown away at this last week's college recruitment session where they set it up as a text-based like communication chat channel, and over 500 colleges paid to enter this conference to try and recruit high school talent for their programs. So I made an account for our program. I went in there and I just said, these are the games I play. Here's my 3.0 GPA. Here's what I do. What are you offering? And I got hundreds of texts. So it's a direct message from that college coach being like, hey, we had a pretty good match. Here's our information. Here's more about our school. Here's our school brochure. We're offering full ride scholarships for anyone, Immortals, Valorant, or, this level, League of Legends. We would love to talk more, schedule a practice session, have you try out, that kind of stuff. Yeah, Marino is trying to start an esports school in the middle school league. I would very much, for middle school, definitely, like if you need people to tournament with, we have our middle school programs. Kamehameha has their middle school programs. We'd love to have you talk with Ed later. So definitely give him an email, figuring out how to get on board with their platform or to to get involved with the middle school esports. What kind of games are you thinking of playing? Because like so Ed's program, they'll kind of field the kind of game title, so they're growing and developing as well. So depending on what games your students want to play, let us know, let him know. We'll do it that way. If you join the Hawaii, so even if you're middle school, you can join that Hawaii High School esports community, that Discord server, because I mean those high school coaches will be more than happy to have feeder program. Yes. Okay. So questions about the gender balance issues in competitive gaming and what your observations are on the topic. So gaming has right now, right? Because in the past it's been kind of like a boys club, like the games are programmed and titled in a way. And the same way games used to be me by myself on the couch, right? Playing the video games. Here, I'll stop the casting. Or I think I stopped the casting. There you go. So the same way back in the day, like it used to be me sitting on the couch with a controller by myself. It's now switched to communication and social skills needed for gaming. A lot of that's pivoting over. So we're seeing a lot more girls, right? So half of my leadership team are girls on our program. We're actually looking at about 60-40 right now. It's not the 50-50 that we want, but we're getting there, right? It's getting a lot better. And I think it's come with the development of games transitioning again. So it used to be like, back in when toy makers were in charge of video games, they're like, okay, well, we're gonna pick boys as our target demographic. We're gonna make it so they sit there alone at home in front of the TV screen, play video games. Then, same way football got the forward pass, they added online social skills to it. So we're seeing much more involvement from all genders into gaming, especially with games transitioning away from kind of focusing specifically on one demographic to opening it up. Because, if you go on Twitch streaming, right, people are streaming their games from all over. And even on our leadership side, as we get more and more social with our games, we're seeing a lot more girls involved. Next skill. Nice. Yeah. And on the tech side, again, reach me out. Like there are a couple, firewall things you set up for different games. It's pretty straightforward on how to get it all set up for you guys. For middle school, how do you balance the 13 age limit on creating accounts for participating in social media? So if you're doing the social media side for middle school, I would have them create the graphics, they send it to you, and you're the one with the Instagram account, right? For casting and broadcasting and that kind of stuff, run through a service like Vantaleaks, where they have the rule of 2, where they always have a coach and another room, adult in the room that's supervising. So that kind of creates that extra layer of safety and barrier, and kind of lets them handle all the age limit requirements for that.
Gabe, can I talk about some of the technical requirements? So
yeah, we got 2 minutes, so go fast.
Okay, so there are a couple ways in which you can play a lot of these games. PC by far is the preferred choice. And like Gabe was saying, you don't need to have like the brand new state-of-the-art PCs. Older PCs can work as well because these games don't take much effort. However, if your school does not have it, it has a Chromebook or a Mac or something else. Another option is a multi-device. And I've seen a lot of schools like to do this. So it's kind of like a bring your own device, BYOD type of offering. So the kids already have an Xbox, a PlayStation, or like a Nintendo Switch. So oftentimes Rocket League, which is like soccer with cars, ends up being like a school favorite just to pilot a program. So what you could do is you could, or like, you could do Fortnite too. But Rocket League tends to be really like a go-to. So you could actually create a classroom where you bring the monitors, the electrical, you provide the internet, and then they bring in their own actual console and controller. And then what they use is like if you're providing them with an iPad or a Google Chrome, that's the device that they go to log into our COPPA compliant platform, so you can talk to the coach. So it's an alternative to just having one computer device, but it's definitely something that's like low resource usage and cost effective.
Awesome. All right, everyone, I think we're gonna wrap it up in about a minute. Thank you everyone for coming. I see lots of names in here. I'm really excited. Please reach out to us. Now is the time to start your esports program. It's never been easier, and it's strike it while it's hot right now. It's a fun little add-on for your teaching experience. I do not regret starting it at all. But yeah, thank you everyone for coming.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Sacred Hearts, iTeach808 for sponsoring us and letting us come hang out with you all. Peace.
Aloha.
Hey, mahalo to Gabriel Y of Iolani School and Ed Lalali of Banta Leagues, and for everyone's participation. We hope you will find this session helpful and make some valuable connections. Please help us by completing the survey on iTeach808 website. The survey will also be sent to the email address that you registered with. Please make sure to check your spam folders for any emails from iTeach808hawaii@gmail.com. Everyone who participated today will be entered in to win one of $25 Starbucks gift cards if you complete the survey by February 4th. Thanks for being here today. Feel free to join the other sessions coming up, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.